Assalamu alaikum. Hello, ciao. My name is Sharif, and I was born in Cairo, Egypt. I've lived in Egypt all my life, and I came to Latvia in March 2018, and currently I have been living in Latvia for 2 years, 11 months, and 2 days.
Hello, Sharif.
Ciao, Mara. Ka teviet?
Oh, Maniat love it. Thank
Uh,
you. It's nice to see you. How are
yeah,
you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I am doing okay. I thought today I would have a nice summery background since it's so snowy and cold in Riga.
Yeah,
I'd
I was going
dream
to
of
admire
summer a
your
little bit.
background.
Yeah, so thank you for joining us and telling us a little bit about your story, about yourself. And let's start by just hearing a little bit about where you're from, where you were born, and maybe a little bit about um, what things were like when you were a child, 7, 8, 9, 10. Um, yeah.
Hmm. Okay, so I am from born and raised in Cairo, which is the capital of Egypt. Egypt is in the North Africa. It's one of the oldest civilization on Earth. So it has been fun growing up. Yeah, I don't remember particularly when I was 7 or 8 years old, but I remember that we like go to school and then go to training because it was very important in my family that all our evenings are filled with something, so we don't just like sit idle by or all of that. Although I hated it at when I was a child and in also in my teenager because basically I was forced to do that. But when I grew up, I liked the discipline. Is that no matter if I have studies, if I have work, if I have like commitments, I would still go to train some kind of activity, which also helps me physically. But it was I would say okay. It wasn't like a bad childhood. It wasn't a great childhood. So a normali, as the Latvians would say.
Yeah. And can you describe Cairo for people who have never been there? What does it look like, smell like, feel like? What do you remember? What
Yeah.
stands out to you?
So this would be a bit of a subjective view, because everyone would
Of
have a
course.
different view
Yeah.
from each other. And so Cairo, it's one of the most densely populated cities on Earth. It's, I think, the first or the second most polluted city as well, but not only from like air pollution, it's about noise pollution, lights, and all of that. So, because in Egypt it's more of a centralized country, basically every day around 10 million people would come into Cairo to finish their papers, do something, and all of that, which is already like the city is already overpopulated. The city can handle like 5 to 7 million. They have 20, and then 10 million come every day.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's 30. Yeah. So, and we have around 26, 27 additional like states where, or like governments, but yeah, they are very less densely populated because basically there is nothing there. So yeah, Cairo is very crowded. It's very polluted. It's not nice at all. All the people there are very stressed. Um, you cannot get anywhere without wasting at least half your day. And no matter which cities they try to build in the outskirts of Cairo, we still have to commute for some reason, and we still like waste that like 2 or 3 hours on a very short distance. So yeah.
Looking back now that you're older and are living in a different country, are there any things that stand out in your mind about um, growing up that feel particularly Egyptian that you've learned that maybe other people didn't do as children or didn't experience as teenagers, for example?
Like being particularly an Egyptian.
Yeah, things that about growing up in Egypt that maybe when you've talked to other people,
Mm.
you realize that they didn't have the same kind of growing up because they grew up somewhere else.
Yeah, particularly like in European, mainly compared to basically Arab culture, is the influence of religion.
Hmm.
So no matter whether it's Christianity or Islam, the religion is deeply rooted in our culture, and basically most of our lives is around the religion, going to the mosque, doing something good. So why are you doing that? Why are you not doing that? So it always has some kind of reference to religion. When I came here, I found out that because this country and like this part of Europe, they don't have such association with any kind of religion. Um, so when you see the kids and you talk to people who have grown up, you do not find necessarily that they have been that religious. And I'm not saying it's something like good or bad, it's just something different. Also, the other part is the family connections. This is like for me as a huge difference that I noticed also from everyone who's talking to me and telling me how their family are. And I'm not saying that the family like perfect and all of that, but the connection, like
Hmm.
back home, you would get a complete different reaction. Like if you need any kind of help, you would ask even a distant cousin, not like someone close, and they would actually try to help you. If they don't, they will call the rest of the like some of the close family. They will try to get some kind of advice. If they can't, they will like try to ask the neighbor. They will try to ask some acquaintances somehow, and then after they give you the advice, they will try to follow up and follow up once again and once again and all of that. So this like connection, this closeness, and I don't know why it is not here, even though the whole family lives here and close to each other. They do not maintain such connection and closeness. Also, I remember someone told me that they haven't spoken to their family for a long time. Others who have like sisters or brother living abroad, they talk once a year, and the conversation takes like 10-15 minutes maximum. And they were amazed that I tell them that I speak to my family every weekend since I am abroad, and it takes from 3 to 4 hours.
Hmm.
And this is like it's nothing. Like we have so much to talk about and not enough time.
Hmm.
And so for me, I was that's very strange for me, and until now I couldn't understand why like people don't have such closeness to their family, even though like they're here, like living in the same country. And so yeah, this is one like
Yeah.
wow.
Um, I'm hearing two different things. I'm hearing one thing is that it sounds like for you, family is extended family, like not just who grew up in your house, but all of your cousins and aunts and uncles and people in your larger family are all family. You're saying you have relationships with everybody in kind of in an extended way. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And then the second thing, and it's an interesting point because I do think it's a cultural difference. Because even in the United States, I've met people who have relationships with their families where they're very in touch and they communicate a lot. And then I've met people, and I think the way they would put it is they're more independent. So everyone in the family does what they want to do, regardless of the rest of the family, and they sometimes check in, but they live independent lives. Um, and you're right, when you're from one and you meet someone from the other, I think for people who've come from very independent families where they were maybe asked to do things on their own without the help of their family, it's probably very strange that there are families that talk to each other and spend a lot of time to each other, and I think vice versa. um, so it's a good point that that can feel like
Yeah.
a big difference.
In Egyptian family, like basically Arab, you are not allowed to be independent. So yeah,
We're all
I couldn't
interconnected.
yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't understand it until I left everything and came here. Then I understood being independent, and
Mhm.
I understood how at least some kind of independence would be nice.
So tell me a little bit about um, when you first traveled abroad, not even moving yet, but when you first traveled abroad or started thinking about going abroad. When was that?
Hmm.
Why did you start thinking about
Um,
it?
no, thinking about it, this is like deeply rooted in our culture. Like basically, after
Mhm.
you are born, you have to get out. So this is like
And
it's
and
not a negotiation. It's not. You
and
don't think
why?
about it.
Why do you think an Egyptian would say that they start thinking about getting out immediately? What are the factors they're thinking about?
Well, for myself, I hate chaos.
Mhm.
I hate being um, like not punctual. I hate like those scams. I hate those like people who are those sweet talkers and try to get themselves out of like all those tough situation, or even put you in a bad situation just because they are like those manipulative talkers and all of that. I hate all of that because there are no rules or laws to check those everyone in place. So that's yeah, I think, and it's all about you ever hear everywhere from anyone who has lived abroad or traveled abroad. Um, they would tell you like how good it is out there, how wonderful it is, how they don't have all the bad qualities that we have in Egypt and all of that. But one thing that is very I don't when I traveled, I found out is that people who always focus on the good things, they do not ever mention the bad things. And literally before I left, it was, I would say, I viewed living in Egypt as living in hell, and anywhere outside would be heaven.
Mhm.
And only after living abroad for over like a year, I understood that Egypt is neither hell or heaven, neither is any other country is hell or heaven. It's a very bad perspective. It's completely biased. You cannot
Mhm.
rely on this. So this is something very important that I try to communicate it to people back home as much as I can. Is that although there are good and bad, it depends on every person's preference. So for me, I always knew that I wanted to get out, and a lot of people it's something completely normal. And then I traveled to Russia, Moscow,
Oh wow.
and yeah, so
Why Moscow?
it was a long story. So basically, I was wanted to go. skydiving. So that's why I went to Dubai for skydiving,
Hmm.
and they were extremely strict about safety,
Ah,
you know. And of
and they
course,
weren't in Russia.
I can't say anything about that, but so, like in Dubai, they have a lot of celebrities, so they are very, very
Hmm.
strict on safety. Like the wind has to be this way, your weight has to
Mm.
be this way. You cannot like be wearing this, all of that. So after it failed because some kind of conditions were not suitable, then I was searching for a country that I can travel to, which doesn't require Schengen visa, because Egyptians
Ah,
cannot
uh-huh.
get Schengen visa that
Hmm.
easily. So I found the cheapest one that offers skydiving was Moscow. And so this is where we went. And when we first spent there like 1 week, I think, or 5 days, I noticed very little things.
Hmm.
One of those is that my lungs, my actual lungs, felt as if it has been running for 30 years and finally it can rest
Oh.
because I breathe actual oxygen and fresh air. And this is a sentence that my father told me when he was in Canada around like 20 years ago. He said that he would take a breath and he would be selfish, like he would be reluctant not to give it back out, like he want to hold it. So I
Hmm.
couldn't understand this, of course, until I went to Moscow and stayed there for like Moscow is a cosmopolitan city, so basically more polluted than any other, like the suburbs or the countryside. So you can imagine the perspective. And for me to breathe this air, it was like, yeah, I can't believe that I am like one decision away from living the rest of my life breathing fresh air, oxygen, uh, which is I would say basic human rights. I don't, but yeah, you grow up without this mentality. So this was like one of the cornerstones of why I definitely will leave. So.
Hmm. So it sounds like when you were there, this idea of only being one decision away really started to push you to make that decision, to be in a place that had different things.
Yes, exactly. Because when you travel to different places, different culture, and it's something like good, you always focus on what you are missing. You focus on what you don't have. You do not focus on what you are having or what you currently like own or stuff like that.
When did you get to the point where you decided, yes, I'm going to do this now? And what did that process look like when you decided, okay, now I am ready. Now I'm going to do this. What How did you do that? What did you do that? And how did you hear about Latvia? How did Latvia come into the picture with that process?
Okay, so I started like my initial process. It was around 10 years ago, like even before the revolution started in Egypt, that I knew I needed to get out. And you, a normal person in Egypt cannot get out that easily. So you have to become much more competent, qualified, and basically be like a superman compared to the rest of the world, just to get a chance for anyone to notice you. And so I started my qualifications. I started two qualification. One was from the UK and the other from US.
Mhm.
And I didn't travel there. I just all the exams were in the British Embassy or this testing center about from like certified from the US, something like that. So I started those 2011, then 12, and I finished by 2017. And I think the breaking point, basically, it was several factors. Is that for a long time, I would say, like, yeah, this 1 year or 1.5, my typical day was about me waking up, and it's like 40, 45 degrees. The electricity is cut off. There is no AC, there is no fans. I'm sweating. I cannot make my breakfast because there is no electricity. I go to take shower. There is no water because there is no electricity, because we have those motors to take the water from the underground to get it up.
Hmm.
So I have to use the water reserve, which is privately owned. We make our own, and I take shower with them, and then I leave my apartment. I before, of course, I leave. I put the suit, the cravat, and all of this full suit. It's 45 degrees. I'm sweating. Then I get out of my apartment. I find the sewer is flooding on the street, and some people put some bricks on the street so I can jump on the bricks. Of course, not everything is a successful attempt, and all of that just to get to the gates of the subway, which is the metro. And from there, all of what was previous is basically heaven compared to what I'm about to do. So the subway, the metro would come, and the metro is designed like each carriage to take from 100 to 150 people, and there is at least 2,000 people in there. So, and you would notice that I said in there because there is still people out there. So there are people in there, people out there, and I have to decide whether I would be hanging from a neck from the other person, or I would wait on the hopes of another tram would come by. And so this was like every day, every day, every day. And then I said, okay, there is nothing I can do. I just like continue my studies until I finish, and I will be leaving. So I finished in 2017, and here was my process of looking for a country, because my qualification basically opens to me all the countries in the world. So either Europe or Australia or New Zealand. So Australia and New Zealand were okay, but they were really far. So very, very far. So I said, okay, Europe. Europe is really good. And because Europe is filled with over highly qualified persons, I need to mm, be more than qualified to get there. So I started looking at the popular countries like UK, France, Germany, and all of that. But I found them, like I would say, too much, for what I am looking for. So what was I looking for? Which is, I was looking for a country with a very, very, very low population. So I basically, Egypt is 100 million or like 102. So I was looking for a country that doesn't exceed 2 or 3 million maximum.
Hmm.
And second, I was looking for a country with no summer, because in
No
Egypt,
Egyptian summer.
yeah, Egyptian summer, yeah. Yeah. This was also one of my inexperience, which I couldn't understand, is that I was looking for this country that basically has no summer and has like a lot of winter. I found Latvia, Estonia, and Isle of Man.
Oh.
So I don't
Mhm.
know. Yeah, a lot of. I didn't even knew about those countries. I got offers from Isle of Man and in Latvia, and also from Sydney, Australia, and like other countries. But Latvia, honestly, were the fastest. Like they were like amazed by what I had, and they moved the process very fast. And I was like, okay, that's really good. I did not expect that. And after all my interviews, everything actually was done in a very amazing way than I expected. They asked one question several times, which I couldn't understand until I came to Latvia and lived for several years. They asked me, do you want to come to Latvia? Yes, like if I'm accepted, and yes, yes, but do you want to come to Latvia? Yes, of course. So I couldn't understand the context of such question until I came here and I lived and all of that. So that's why I chose Latvia and came very, very fast.
When you first got here, uh, tell me a little bit about what you tried to do to learn about this place or understand it better, or how did you try to um, yeah, get to know where you were living?
Hmm. Um, I am a very good researcher. So whenever I don't know something, which basically I don't know 99% about anything, I would research. I would try to look, I would try to understand. But my struggle was 3 years ago, I couldn't find anything about Latvia on the internet. I found some videos about people walking in the old town. Wow, looked really good, looked really beautiful. Yeah, but I don't understand about anything about this country, you know. Someone would say it is an ex-Soviet country, so basically it's like Russia, but not like Russia.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't understand this context, you know. What do you mean? Then I found somehow those expat in Latvia, this Facebook, and someone gave me one advice, and I used what he told me and in my interview, and they were amazed about it, and I couldn't understand it. He said Latvians are like the coconut, extremely hard from the outside, no matter how much you keep like poking, keep knocking, but once you are able to open them, they are very sweet and very nice in the inside. Okay, how can I do like I don't think I would be open. How can I open people off, you know? So not like, I mean, surgically, I mean like normally,
Hmm.
emotionally,
Hmm.
yes. So I said this in my interview and they said, whoa, who told you that? I actually don't know, someone on Facebook commented on this. I
Hmm.
They said, yeah, that's a very accurate description. And I said, okay, I'm kind of a friendly guy. I wouldn't say I'm the most friendly one. I would say I'm normal. And like Egyptian, we are all friendly, so I would be able to make people open up. And
Hmm.
this was my initial, how would you say, approach. Is that since I can't find information, then I have so little information, then I would use my charm and charisma in like charming people, you know.
Hmm.
But then I came and I found that it's really really hard to even talk to people. So I thought it's the language barrier at first. So within 1 week I started this Latvian course with the Ministry of Integration and Culture. No, Ministry of Culture. They had this integration
Hmm.
course, and part of it was this 4 months extensive Latvian learning course. And I would say it was good in one area, is that it connected me to foreigners.
What are a couple of things that stand out to you in terms of things that you've learned while you've been here? Both maybe things that you really like and have enjoyed, and kind of found um, on your own, and maybe an example of something that just feels very different from the way that
Hmm.
you maybe were previously familiar with.
Ah. Basically, something very different is, for example, a person like me, I'm not very knowledgeable about how to survive in the snow.
Mhm.
Literally coming from the desert, our coldest temperature in the winter is around like plus 12 degrees or 15 degrees, something like that. And I've never seen snow in my life. I've never walked on a snow, or I never touched, like, smell anything. And I didn't know there are special shoes for the snow, to
Mhm.
walking on the snow, on the ice, and this one. I didn't know that you should be careful about where you are stepping, where you are stepping on white snow, or white ice, or this gray ice, like this blackish on all of that.
Mhm.
I literally don't know. I just actually learned this information 2 weeks ago from my British friend. She's the one who kept like, this is good ice, this is not good ice, this is dangerous, this is bad. Okay, why can't say someone like write something like this, or put it, or this was yeah. So I remember my third day here. I was walking out of Galleria Center, which is like a shopping mall, and it was in the middle of March, so I would say end of winter, beginning of spring, and the snow and ice started to melt. And basically, I was just stepping out, having like groceries and all of that, and I am walking. I haven't started walking yet. I'm just like took like 2 steps, and for a brief second, I saw a familiar shoe in front of me, and apparently it's my shoes, and my legs are slipped up, so I am falling very fast that my mind cannot comprehend that I am actually falling. And for a brief second, I was laying down, like both my legs are open and my both my arms are like this, and I couldn't understand why did I fall. There is no one around me who can trip me. I didn't trip or anything. So here was my biggest culture shock, like my first one, is that people would look at me, like look down like this, and they would leave. And some would look at me with this eye expression, is, why did you fall? You know,
Mhm.
haven't your parents taught you how to ice skate when you were a child? Something, because this is something completely normal for Latvians who grew up in the snow. But for me, I couldn't understand why I fell. So it's okay. I got up, and because I was wearing those sneaker shoes, and sneaker shoes, they don't provide any good contraction on the ice at all. And I woke up, I like dusted all, everything is really good. I picked up my groceries, then I took a same step on the same melted ice. Then I fell again. And I was like, seriously, what is wrong with my I couldn't understand why. So I thought, "Oh, maybe this is a dangerous place to walk in." And so I sat around, I would say, like 30 seconds on the ground to observe how people are walking. Maybe I did not learn enough how to walk. So I said, okay, maybe I will look. Uh, okay, so they are walking normally. So I crawled like for a few steps to the place where they are walking, and I got up and I walked. Then I went to my office the next day. I told them I fell, because after this incident, I fell like 7 to 8 times after that. Um, I went to my office. I asked them, I keep falling, and I don't know if there is something on the ground or something in my walking. And this woman looked at my shoes. She said, this is not suitable for the winter. I said, like, I need some kind of better shoes. She said, yeah, like it should have like this shapes and figure below. Okay. And I told her, when I fell, nobody helped me. Why? She said, oh, I'm sorry that that happened to you, but yeah, but why didn't anyone help me? The kids. And this was a huge culture shock, because in Egypt, literally, if you before you even fall, like if you are giving this intention of falling, of tripping over, of you would find at least 7 to 8 people helping you, you know, and other people giving you motivation not to fall, you know. So like, take care of yourself, you got this, you know, like literally complete strangers. So this was my huge first culture shock, is that if I fall and if I trip, like nobody like look or help or something like that. So this was like one of the different the things that I really like, that for me it's completely amazing, but for you and like for the rest of the population is completely normal, is the discipline and people following the rules and the laws and the regulations and all of that. That if there is a queue, no matter how long is the queue, everyone will stay in the queue. And I wouldn't say like 100%. I've seen like some instance like 1% or that, but uh, overall it's amazing. You know, overall this is amazing. In Egypt, you wouldn't ever find this. It will all end into fights, like very very bad. So this is one of them. Like, wow. Second thing that I admired, and I was like, I wanted, you know, to say how amazing it is the bus when the bus comes. And first of all, there is a schedule, and the
Hmm.
bus comes in the schedule. Of course, there is some traffic days, like traffic times and rush hour. It comes late, but the bus actually comes, and this is amazing. And the most profound thing, which I made videos and sent back to my family and my friends, is that I was able to get in the bus. And for me, for any Egyptian to be able to get inside that metro bus, or this is a huge privilege. Like, you would give thanks to Allah, you say thank God at least 10 times if you are inside,
Hmm.
you know. So for me to be inside and actually see several seats are empty and I can choose whichever seat I like to sit on, this was like, I can't believe, like, you know, like I finally, you know, I I don't know how to say it, but it's like winning the lottery, you know, like something in this way, that I can get in, I can sit, and when my stop comes I can get out. Because most of the times, even in Egypt, if your stop comes, there is no guarantee at all that you'll be able to come out, because there is like at least 2,000 people in front of you who don't get out at this station. So that doesn't
Hmm.
mean that you are going to be able to get out of the station. And for me, like coming from this place where every day I'm like hanging from a neck of a person who's hanging from a shoulder of another person who's hanging with his dear life to the door, uh, for me to walk in the bus, this was amazing. Yeah, and also another thing I'm really happy about is the freedom. Um it's maybe because I'm a foreigner, I cannot really say it's much freedom for the Latvians, but freedom to do whatever I want without being judged,
Hmm.
without being like getting these you know, like looks, and like someone says something, or I know they say something about me, they say something behind my back, I hear it but I don't understand it, so for me that doesn't affect me. So this freedom to do what I want, as long as I'm not like harming anyone, hurting anyone, that's amazing. I admire the Latvian culture about that.
So, my last question for you is just, where do you see things going forward? And what are your thoughts at this point about what your future looks like? I know it's a big question,
Yeah, that's
but whatever kind of comes to your mind in the matter.
hmm. Um, one of the things that I really admire about Latvia, I don't, I traveled several countries after that, and I couldn't find them in any country, is the green, like the greenery, the trees, the amazing fields, the fresh air. Yeah, I've went to several European countries. They didn't have such amazing trees and fresh air, and this is something that I'm amazed about. That I can go to a park and relax. It's the beach is 30 minutes by train. You know, compared to Egypt, you have to travel 12 hours
Wow.
through the desert just to see some water, like some good water,
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even public, everything is privatized. So you have to pay so much money just to. And here you take like a train with what, 80 cents or 86 cents, and be there and walk, sit on the beach, and nobody bothers you. Like even if you go to in Egypt in those public beaches, you will find at least 10 to 20 people coming and trying to sell you something, but trying to tell you that you're doing something illegal, trying to scam you, trying to all of this. But here you just go, put your mat, sit, look at the sand at the beach, and that's it. You don't need, I don't want anything else. For me, that's amazing. Also, one thing that it's like a huge thing for me. I don't think it's amazing for the rest of European or even Americans. Is the economic stability. Coming from a place where we had like a stable economy until like this unfortunate times, and then everything went very bad. Um, when I came here, the can of tuna cost 1.85 cents. 3 years later, it still cost 1.85 cents. In Egypt, you would buy the can of tuna literally like one, like let's assume 185. Yeah, there is 95% possibility the next day or even in the evening you would go and buy it. It will be like 4 or 5 times its price.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter how the economy gets better or gets worse, the prices always increase. So this is because of there is no like good regulations. I have no idea, but there is nothing about decreasing in the price or at least the stability. And for me, even when I get back in Egypt, I tell them like about the hardships and all of that, and tell them the economy, like you can actually buy something, and 3 years later it will be the same, same quality. This is very important. The same price, same packaging, and it's sold in the same place. And for us, this is like something completely wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And so going forward, um, honestly, in complete honesty, when I came here, I wanted this to be like my home and my final destination and all of that. But and I would say that I have done a lot. I wouldn't say like too much. Like, there are people who have done such amazing things, but from my side, I try to understand the culture. I try to learn the language. I'm still learning the language. I invested so much. I try to connect with people. I try to understand their point of view. Um, from people perspective, I would say it's getting much better than I came 3 years ago.
Well, thank you very much for sharing a little bit about yourself and about where you're from, and wishing you all the best into the future.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Paldies.